Fight Night on DAZN, brought to you by that prize guy.
And we welcome you back to fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, for the first ever underdog card, which will kick off in earnest in January. A monthly show that will feature the prospects and the best young guns around the world. The main event was decisive. A huge knockout win for Anthony Olascuaga in round 2. This is Beyond the Bell. I'm Todd Grisham, Sergio Mora, Chris Mannix. We were waiting for that big standout knockout performance, and we finally got it in the main event.
Yeah, we did, and he did it with exciting fashion. Olascuaga went looking for a knockout, but he did it responsibly. Camacho was actually boxing really nicely, cashing in with some good shots. He was making it difficult for Olascuaga, but he found a way. That's what I want to see with a young champion. Closing the distance, closing the show, and ultimately doing it in big fashion right here in the underdog. I loved every second of this show and that performance.
Yeah, the point of this card was to give fans a bunch of 50-50 fights, and I think to a degree it delivered that, but it was also an opportunity to give a young fighter a springboard into bigger and better things, and Olascuaga, he did that tonight. After a pretty competitive first round, back and forth, he figured out Juan Camacho, and he tracked him down. Body shots, head shots, hitting him up against the ropes. This is what we've seen from Olascuaga throughout his young pro career. Fighting primarily over in Japan, he has been forced to go on the road and be a warrior. Now he's back here on the west coast of the U.S., and he put out a fantastic performance.
And you mentioned the world is his oyster right now. So many great fights for him as the WBO champion. And with this style, I mean, fans are going to clamor to this guy. He looks sort of like a Luis Collazo type of fighter that's all action all the time.
Yeah, he is all action. He's shown that in his championship level fights. He's a relentless puncher and never stops until he gets the knockout. And there are big opportunities waiting for him over the next couple of fights. I mean, look, we talked in the fight about Ricardo Sandoval, just went over to Japan himself, won 2 versions of the 112-pound title. There are Matchroom representatives in here tonight. They've got Galal Yafai, who's going to be looking for a big fight himself at 112 pounds. I think this kid is going to make a lot of money the next time out.
Well, as I mentioned, this was the appetizer for Saturday's main event. It'll be Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford. You can see the weigh-in live right here on DAZN tomorrow. But Sergio, let's get your thoughts on that. You've gone on the record picking Terrence Crawford to dethrone the undisputed 168-pound champion. He's moving up 2 weight classes. He's older than Canelo. He's only fought once in the last 2 years. He didn't look like gangbusters against Madrimov. Why in the world do you think he's going to win this fight?
Because we're dealing with greatness. When it comes to greatness, you can't tell them what to do. And look, the size difference, we thought that was going to be a big factor. We see them right here. They look the same size. Yes, Canelo is a natural super middleweight. He's the bigger, stronger fighter, but he's a heavier footed fighter. I think that's going to be the difference. Crawford is confident on the outside. He's older, but he also has the longer reach, the faster feet. And from the left-handed stance, the right-handed stance, a mean chip on his shoulder, I think the stars are going to align for us to see something great, witness greatness, and that's going to be Terrence Crawford being the great Canelo Alvarez.
You're in Team Canelo's side here, Chris, and it seems like the people who are supporting Canelo or think he's just going to win, think people like Sergio are crazy. Like, how can you possibly think this is going to happen?
The disrespect for Canelo Alvarez coming from the Mexican on this broadcast team is real. This is some Mexican on Mexican crime that we got going on here. You will never be allowed back at Sinaloa ever again after words like that. Why are we not just assuming that Canelo Alvarez, the best super middleweight in the world, is still going to be the best super middleweight in the world? The one fight that Sergio and I have been having all week long is that the weight doesn't matter. Sergio doesn't think that moving up 2 weight classes, 14 pounds, which if we're being honest, it's 3 weight classes. He's fought 1 time at 154. Sergio doesn't think that's going to matter. I disagree. When fighters generally move up in weight, whether it's 1 weight class or 2 weight classes, they gradually move their way up there. Look at Andre Ward, one of the greatest fighters of this century. When he moved up to 175, he didn't go straight into a fight against Sergey Kovalev. He took 1 warm-up, then 2 warm-ups, then 3 warm-ups. Terrence Crawford is a great fighter, but he is a great welterweight middleweight fighter. On Saturday night, he's going to get in the ring with the best super middleweight in the world. And I think after this fight, we're going to be talking about the difference that there is in these weight classes.
You care to retort?
We'll find out on Saturday because, look, this is the thing about greatness. You can't tell someone like Terrence Crawford what his limits are. The man knows how to fight on the outside, on the inside. He has a mean chip on his shoulder, and he fights from two stances. I mean, how are you going to stop that?
Why are we... Terrence Crawford is great.
Yes, he is.
So is Canelo Alvarez.
Yes, he is.
First ballot Hall of Famer,
Yes,
all-time great, a guy with one of the best resumes in all of boxing today, and you're just outright dismissing it. Look at the resume of Canelo Alvarez, the very recent resume, the great fighters he's faced, the Hall of Famers he's faced time and again. You seem to think, I think you're a believer, that the Williams School fight was evidence of regression from Canelo Alvarez. I think it's evidence of a fight happening at 6 a.m. and fighting a guy that ran the entire time.
We've been seeing regression and a fighter that's been long in the tooth for a long time. Canelo Alvarez.
Is Crawford not long in the tooth? He's older than Canelo.
Yeah, he's older than Canelo, but he has less wear and tear than Canelo.
You keep saying that too. Like, these wars that Canelo was in, yes, he has been in some wars. But over the last 3 years, where are the wars? These have been sparring sessions that Canelo has been. Ever since the Dimitri Bivol fight in 2022, Canelo has turned his fights into glorified sparring sessions. I would argue, Sergio, that the fact that Canelo has been able to stay active, to fight 2 times per year, to have a routine, that makes him more prepared for this particular opportunity. Terrence Crawford, for really the last 4 or 5 years, has been a one-fight-per-year fighter, and I don't fault him for that. They have been big fights. He dominated Errol Spence. He beat Israel Madrimov. But if you're going to sit there and say that the wear and tear exists on Canelo, show me where he's finding that over the last 3 years.
The fact that he's not knocking out fighters anymore. He's not knocking out anybody. He hasn't knocked out anyone since 2021 when it almost took 12 rounds for him to stop Caleb Plant. I just like the fact that Crawford is built for this moment. We've never seen him really hurt. We've never really seen him dominated by anybody.
Saying Crawford is built, saying he's built for this moment, it implies that Canelo is not. Okay?
No, I'm not implying that.
It does. It implies that. Both these guys are built for this moment. But Canelo has proven it time and again. And I go back to the beginning. He is fighting in his weight class. He has been a full-fledged super middleweight since 2020 when he beat Callum Smith to win his first 2 titles there. The 14 extra pounds, it's gonna matter. I'm telling you, the second half of the fight, muscle is heavy. You don't have much. You're trying to put some on. I get that. But muscle in fights is heavy. It's going to cause
He's very passionate about this. Huh? He's very passionate.
You know what is heavy? Fat, and you got plenty of it.
Wow.
And that's the Underdog, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow, live on DAZN, you will see the weigh-in. Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, that's live. And then, of course, Saturday night on Netflix, Canelo versus Crawford, the fight night from Allegiant Stadium. Well, we hope you enjoyed the inaugural Underdog card here from Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll be back here in January for the once-monthly series, and hopefully if it's anything like tonight, we're going to have another great series. For Chris Mannix, who's picking Canelo, Sergio Mora, who's turned his back on his heritages and going with Crawford, I'm Todd Grisham. We'll see you next time.